I understand we were fair bit in terms of using the digital medium and everything, but is it like an accelerated digitization you see in the kind of lives we're leading today? It's literally a virtual environment, we are meeting. Uh, so how has that helped the brand given the nature of, the product category? Has it propelled the brand forward?
Yes, in a way, if I may say that it has propelled the brand, but that's predominantly where companies have started looking for opportunities to work from home, options to working from a flexible and a more flexi timing kind of a scenario. We as a brand, we were always flexible because we are addressing to a global market. By that logic, we are
Yeah.
reaching out to customers sitting in India. We are actually reaching out to customers in other parts of the world because they're actually comparing prices from a dollar to a yen to a pound to a rupee to Pakistani rupee or a Bangladeshi rupee for that matter. So they're constantly on the lookout of can I show? So for example, in the earlier scenario, you would be traveling to say a US and you would feel that let me pick this up in the US, maybe it's cheaper there. But by that logic, you would travel to the US without calculating that, I'm paying X amount of money to do this travel and maybe reach to that particular location. Even Apple, for that matter, has shown price parity all across the globe. Even with their new launches coming in, they're extremely clear that it is X dollars in the US and you give a direct correlation to rupees in India. That's how we follow. So propelling the brand is predominantly on a particular platform. So while the offline piece was, if I may say in our audio terms, switched off, the online piece was predominantly amplified. So you had a lot more avenues for people to go and pick up a particular headphone. We increased our reach by tying up with partners like Zomato and Cult Fate, which weren't actually doing this in the past. So while they allowed us to get onto their platform, we also allowed ourselves to reach to our customers in a more simpler way. We had issues even from the offline market point of view. We had issues reaching out to our customers because certain parts of the country were shut down and called into lockdown, while the central government was opening up things or were saying things. The state government had the final call as to what they should be doing in the scenario. So we were also trying to adapt to what state government versus central government versus Ministry of External Affairs and customs duty and so on and so forth. So we were trying to adapt to them. Where earlier we had a market share of close to about 40 or 42 odd percent online, and this is in terms of pure our revenue base. That's largely increased to about 60%.
Wow.
And that's where I would say that in the digital space, it has helped us propel. But what we've also done is we've made our offline space, what we call it, we'd like to call it, and there are words like this that are floating around in the market. We are trying to call it phygital.
So you're saying basically it's a more experiential kind of product,
That's
which
right.
is also seeing an uptake online. So does that now, when we go back to the new normal, whatever we'd like to call it, for you as a brand custodian, obviously it's given you a new perspective. You've kind of broken out of a different, out of the box due to the situation. Does that digital and the physical, the dynamic completely changed when you do your plan now? The breakup is going to be much more different, or you think the consumer behavior will go back to wanting to kind of experience the product, touch and feel once we're out and we're going to be ourselves again? Though I don't know when that is going to happen, but.
So, the way I see it, I'm purely talking as an Indian, we are by nature social. We are by nature someone who when he's going to buy a car brand, or when he's going to buy his next car, we automatically ask about mileage. We automatically, so when I see customers buying sound bars or party boxes, or even headphones, or high value headphones for that matter, uh, would you invest, say, anything above 15,000 ASP on a speaker without testing it one bit? You wouldn't. I don't think you would.
Possibly not. In the earlier scenario, no. I mean, but unless I feel, oh my God, I really need it now for something, but that's one off.
Yeah. So what you would do is you wouldn't. So if you're stuck, if you're caught in the house, you're caged in a way, or you're under lockdown, and you need a headphone. Like it's not the want, it's actually the need. So, and there's a difference between need and want. So in the earlier scenario, when you were free to walk into a Chroma, Reliance, My Brand store, or any other location, airports for that matter, and you're looking for a headphone, you don't need it. You're looking for an headphone because it's a gadget, it's a cool thing to have. You would walk into a store, maybe look at a 1,000, 1,500, 2,000, 3,000, all variants of products. But when you wear, say, a 20,000 rupee headphone, you really feel that, you know what, the music that I'm listening to sounds really different on this product per se. You would pick it up because you like the way you hear it. You like the way it fits you. You like the design. You like it says it has a fantastic battery life. It charges really fast. So it solves a lot of your problem. So that becomes a want, right? The need is you want a headphone for yourself to hear things wirelessly. But the moment you go to a higher value thing, it becomes a want because you can afford it. You go for a higher value purpose, right?
Right.
So, and coming back to the point that I was trying to make is that as social animals, we like meeting people. We, rather than reading a particular feature, or rather than going through the 100 features that I am listing on a particular website about my product, I'd rather hear it from an in-shop promoter who's trying to sell me that product. You're seeing it on the mobile, or you're seeing it on a smaller screen, larger screen, whatever way you're consuming that data. It's still not as big as someone trying to explain to you. And honestly, if you were a customer to me while I was standing in the store, I would have really sold you the highest value product, because I can tell you how a particular song sounds like. I can tell you what to hear in a particular song. And these are things that I will never be able to do online. Unless physically I have someone sitting there doing training and saying, okay, you like the song? Now, when you're hearing the song, you hear this piece on the song. So, you know, Ajay Atul did the orchestra on a particular song. Can you hear the violin? Can you hear the string section, for example? That I can do when you're in my store. That I can do on a soundbar. That I can do on a headphone when you're in front of me, because I need to know what your affinity is towards. What kind of music do you listen to? Is it EDM? Is it acoustic music? Is it orchestra? Is it opera? What do you listen to? What genre of music do you do? And that's a conversation that you strike, and that's when you decide that it's okay to spend that extra money, because this is going to stay with me forever, right? You know for a fact that if I'm spending anywhere between 1,000 to 1,200 or anything lower, you know the longevity, or you know the length of the product that you're going to stay with it for. So, for example, you know, you may want to, or you may aspire to go to a higher value product faster if you buy a lower value product. But if you buy a extremely or a higher or an extremely higher or a premium product, you would not want to switch from it, because you then get used to the way. So I always tell customers that if you're a Harman Kardon customer, you may or may not like a JBL sound, because Harman Kardon gives you that oral definition extremely different from the way you hear JBL. And from Infinity to JBL, it's another leap that you have to make. So which is why we are available at least in the consumer market. We are available in the Infinity range, which is to tap a customer within the 500 to 3,000 price range. Then we have JBL, which starts from 2,000 and goes all the way up to about 20,000. And then we have the Harman card, which is the most premium range. Similarly, in our professional range, right? So we have satellite speakers that go into your house, into your restaurant, into a retail outlet. So if you're a JBL customer, for example, and you walk into a McDonald's, you will hear the same audio quality within a McDonald's or a Jack and Jones or a Reliance, for that matter, because they use our product. They use our professional audio, which is very similar to what you're hearing on your headphones. So that's the continuity that we are trying to give a customer, that wherever you go, you hear this. And similarly, you'll hear, if you buy a Tata Harrier, or you buy a Nexon, or you buy a Baleno, for that matter, you will hear similar audio within the car, because we are available in the car also. So from that perspective, we actually complete the life cycle or we're available, like we would like to say that, or we always say this, that we are in your life, on the go, in the car, at your home, and even in a temple and at the party place. On the point that you were mentioning about, how that our in-shop promoter or a long arm salesperson standing in Reliance, Chroma, or any of the stores that we place them, we invest a lot of money in the training to impart training to all of these guys. Like we do literally now we actually do a process where we chat. This also gives us an opportunity to chat with them, understand what the issues are that they are facing, plus also explain to them a lot about our product, because they hear questions from the customer which they may or may not be able to answer at that very moment. And also it also depends on how the customer has asked the question. Is it a tricky one? It may have a very simple answer to it. And also a lot of customers do compare कि इससे वो ऐसा क्यों और ये ऐसा क्यों है. So there are sometimes that these guys are not able to give that answer on the floor itself. So we actually do those calls, training sessions once a week nowadays, and explain to them how to tackle this particular problem. Similarly, in the professional space, so this goes to the consumer side on the offline piece. On the online, you put all the data, you put the A+, you put it in the catalog, you do reviews, you do key opinion leaders, you do influencer marketing, you do all of that, and that's about what you can do. And hope that someone is going to hear this and buy my product. It is working for us. It's working for a lot of us. It's not just our brand. It's working for a lot of brands. But still, that touch and feel is something that we would always want to go back to. In the professional space, we are currently doing so many trainings. Actually, we've just put out a post on some 100 trainings that we've done over this period, thanking a lot of our presenters who are industry veterans and legends who give. So, for example, we had Brad Divins, who's the main engineer for Enrique Iglesias, and he used to travel 20 days a year. Right now, he's sitting at home. So, what do? We actually get him to impart his knowledge to people in terms of how he actually aligns his speakers in a concert to get. So, he was saying that he actually, when they're doing a rehearsal, or when they're doing a mic check, or when they're doing line checks, he records all those, takes it back to his hotel room, and this is one day prior to the concert, takes all of that back to the hotel room, hears it all over again, and then he comes back onto his main console and then changes things that he needs to. So that's the effort that an engineer actually puts it to make an artist or a musician sound so good. And it is that guy who makes my speakers sound so good. So which is why I'm bringing in all of these guys and this has absolutely got nothing to do with brand. They're not talking about how this will sound on a JBL professional speaker. They're not saying that at all. They're only saying that if you tweak the sound a bit, this is how you will hear it. Now it's up to you how you want, which speaker you want to use. We leave that to your decision because you're the decision maker at the end of the day. But how to get that sound out is more important to understand than what product the sound comes out from. So we invest a lot of money in lot of efforts. Actually, let's not talk about money at all, but we invest a lot of efforts in training our customers. We'll be doing one in the cinema space. We will be doing one in the video conferencing space. We very recently we spoke about our installation at a hotel, which was a complete audio over IP. You don't need 100 cables to run from point A to point B. All you need is maybe 5 cables, which is a Cat 5 LAN cable that goes from point A to point B. That's it, and your life is sorted. And you can remote.
What about all those white and black wires under the carpet and everywhere else that are there?
It's not there in this hotel, and this is in India. We did this in India. It's not there in this hotel because the hotel wanted to keep the floor area clean because that's the area that the customers walk to, right? So they wanted to keep the floor area clean, and which is how we designed the whole piece. And we had one of our very well-renowned AV consultants who came on board with us. And we explained how we did this whole installation. Nowhere mentioning that, we installed this speaker because this speaker can give this. So it wasn't a product demo. Yes, we did try and bundle in a product demo of a new product that we've launched in the professional space. But people could choose to switch to something else while we were doing the demo. So while this chat session was going on, we did not do any interventions in there. There was a separate demo session. They could click there, go take the demo while the chat was going on. Yeah, it was optional.
Couple of points that I got from this is, because my question was, sometimes you see the brand custodian or the stakeholder with a certain vision, which is here. Then you see the foot soldiers or the brand ambassadors, brand influencers, like I like to call them, that is your people in the store, talking a completely different language, which you've kind of explained on how on a weekly basis you are in touch with them or the company is in touch. And there's an exchange of ideas and information on how, and that's how you're kind of reaching out to your consumers in real time, right?
Right.
There's also a big piece of investment in education that is brand agnostic, right?
Yeah.
So you kind of led me to my next question of what are the initiatives during this time that you've actually done to reach out to your consumers? Besides what you've told me in the hotel, which sounds extremely progressive, and I would love to be in the hotel where there are no wires and something's actually going on, because despite those wires, technology kind of does a blip or, it just goes off sometimes. But coming back to the investment piece and the education piece, how has that gone in the past few months, and how has that changed from what you were doing pre-COVID or pre-lockdown?
So we used to. So in my marketing budget, if I may put it this way, in my marketing budget, I actually budget for trainings. This is the marketing cost, predominantly in the professional space, because there I have to, the kind of people that I'm speaking to are engineers. I'm speaking to system integrators, I'm speaking to AV consultants, and they need to be trained on a new technology that is coming out. We predominantly try and see that most of the technology is incorporated within the product that we sell. So we set up trainings across our 3 offices. So we have a training center within the office in Bombay, Delhi, and Bangalore. So we set up trainings at least 10 a month, as many people as they would like. So we have application engineers who do this training. They are certified Harman engineers who actually train customers on the product, on the technology, and how to utilize the technology to enhance their customer experience. So these are things that we invest in. It's a part of the marketing budget. I spend close to the professional space. If my budget is say 100, I actually spend 20% of that on training. 20% of my budget goes into training. Whether it fructifies or no into sales, that's not what my lookout is. My lookout is to train as many people and inform as many people as possible on the tech that or the experience that they can give a customer with the tech that we have, and that's how we work this piece around. Even in the consumer side, if my long arm sales and the in-shop promoter, who we call as ISPs, if they're not trained, they'll never be able to sell my product, because these, and my job is to retain these guys, because the moment I train them, and they're a standing standing ambassador of audio, so to say, so they can switch to any brand. It can be brand agnostic, absolutely. So my job and investment is to actually keep these guys on the floor with me as a brand.
Any takeaways from this particular point in time? Because when we were chatting, you told me that virtual communication was something you practiced earlier, is something you do now, and I know you like to make sweeping statements like, oh, this is something we do earlier and we do something now and nothing has changed. But what are your key takeaways from this period that we continue to kind of go through? And I can clearly see, like you've outlined beautifully, that there are things that have worked in favor because you all have been agile and adapted quickly to the market, and also worked in favor because you've kind of pushed the envelope and done something differently. So what are your two, three, how many key takeaways?
So one of the things that this scenario has brought to me is to think out of my comfort zone. I've been pushed to think really hard, and I keep getting pushed on a daily basis, and this has not got to do with my customers asking me for something, or how do I reach my customer. It's also my team pushing me to start thinking out of the box. So for example, when this guy in my team who used to travel 20 to 25 days a month, because he was handling he does handle retail marketing. He was restricted only to travel in Delhi. He was like, I don't know what to do. He had absolutely no idea what he should do for the rest of the week, because covering Delhi for him takes him one day to understand the market, to understand the pulse, to know what's selling where, to know which product is doing what. It took him 1 or maximum 2 days to understand that market, or from a sales point of view, or from a marketing point of view within that period. And then he would call me and tell me, Abhi, what do you want me to do now? And that's the thing that allowed me to start thinking and pushing him to do a lot more. So I kept telling him that, chal tu offline retail dekh raha hai, why don't you spend a little more time on the online side? Give me options of what I can do to take your offline market online. And that doesn't mean the straightforward answer to that is not telling Reliance to sell in the e-com space. That's not the answer. It's basically to tell Reliance that how do you want to reach out to the customer and how do you want me to help you? And that's something that brings a lot more conversation. And this conversation, you don't have to do it at home. Meet the local Reliance digital guy, manager there, and try and understand from him how he would like to reach the customer, geo-targeted within the space that he is, within the 5-kilometer radius. And believe you me, it shocked me the amount of information that this guy came to me with. And today he doesn't say, Abhi, main kya karu?
Obviously,
and that's the difference. The first month he actually came and told me that मेरे को नहीं समझ में आता ये सब चीज. I don't know how you can do Google and how you can do geo-target, and I know WhatsApp. I said, then do WhatsApp marketing. So all I had to do was give him the tools, and he came back to me with the answers, and he asked me for some money, and I said that yeah, go ahead, go for it. I'm more than happy if you can add more value to that customer and maybe bring him back to a Reliance, and that brings our alliance, gives our alliance a lot more life. So if I make the effort to draw a customer into my partner's store, it means a lot to him. He sees it in a way that this guy is also making the effort, which probably I wouldn't have done in the earlier days. The customers were anyways walking in. All I needed to see is once the customer has walked in, how do I convert him into a Harman customer? But now, as Harman, I'm actually trying to bring a customer to him. So that's
because you're adding so much value to the association.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we are also trying to see how we work around margins, and I'm trying to understand price points, which doesn't necessarily fall into my portfolio of work, but I'm trying to see how to work price points around how new product launches. What is it that we should do? What's the amount? Do we look like a discounted brand? Do we look like a non-discounted brand? Do we want to look like a discount? So these are things that naturally happened. I didn't have to put my mind onto it. Someone was doing it, but here during these times, it actually forced me to look at it differently. It forced me to reach out to say a manufacturer sitting in Bhiwandi, for example. He had a manufacturing unit where he is, and this manufacturing unit is on. Uh, how do I convince him that you do not need to go to a guy to give him the explanation of what he needs to do next? All you need to do is unmute the microphone on your table and talk to that guy via a speaker. So I had to educate him to do that, and I started thinking, how will I do this as normal business? Otherwise, I wouldn't have reached out to this guy ever.
Who is Yogesh Nambiar when he is not heading marketing for Harman India?
He's just another normal guy. Yeah. He wants to
Loves
catch up
music
with his
and
friends.
loves football.
He loves football, yes. I'm someone who would not miss a game given any circumstance. I was the most, if I may say, frustrated because football was stopped globally, and rightly so. The moment football came back on, I think I got another ignition, or I got another push in my life. So that gave me the upside to actually tell my friends that if they can play, why don't we also start playing? And then we coerced a turf guy to say that, what, only we are going to play. We know who these 10 are, and why don't you let us do that? And he was happy to do it. And I've been playing football at least for the last 2 months, if I may say so. Yeah, and I'm really happy to put me back on. Yeah, it keeps me going. Otherwise, I wouldn't have fit into this grid view frame. Like I was telling Ashish and you earlier, that I had stopped fitting into these shirts that I'm wearing.
Okay, so you have a new lease of life. You're fitting into your clothes again. And I would like to say thank you for kicking off our series of Meaningful Connect. It's
Thank you
been
so
a
much.
delightful conversation, and that has taught us and shared so much about the brand.
No,
And
this was fun. This was absolute fun. The way you guys are doing it. Hats off to you that you're giving. So for me, if I would have been a panelist on a webinar, I wouldn't have gotten to say so much about how we think, how my brand thinks, how I think, who am I as an individual. You're sitting on a 1-hour webinar, and you're not able to say even 10% of what I did now. Whereas what you're doing with this literally is a meaningful connect. This, I'm sure, is extremely helpful, and hope it is extremely helpful to people the way when they see it. This helps them in understanding how a one-on-one connect really helps.
thank you so much.